Good morning, Dr. Chand, Dr. Gulati, Lavis, Mr. Bhandari, all of you. And basically, we have gathered to discuss a very important and very pertinent point. And the panel discussion that we are having today is on, can India be the food factory of the world? And that is the topic that we are discussing today. Before I start, I'll just lay down the rules. It's nothing very structured. We can speak on the topic for 5 minutes and then we'll have a question answer. And given the topic is also somewhat important because given the fact that we are having a lot of trade deals here, there, and one pertinent question in all the trade deals is that whether Indian agriculture will get impacted or not. I was just talking to one of those exporters that a few days back, he was saying that one biggest benefit of this trade deal with US is with the walnut producers and value-added processors of walnut. So they are very happy. Walnut gets around 100% duty from US. If it comes down to even 30%, it means there is a sharp reduction in walnut. US walnut perhaps has one of the meatiest kernels, and they can value add it, process it, send it outside. There'll be huge processing industry that they expect to grow because of this trade deal. So obviously, whether India can become the food factory of the world. So let's start with Dr. Chand first. Do we have the wherewithal, potential, and the challenges that Indian agriculture faces? And with every surmounting year, and I'll come back to each one of you separately on the topic, and then we can discuss it in detail.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I think first it is important to respond to the title that you have given for this discussion, whether India can become world food power or not. I think we are now developing ambition to be bird power in a large number of things. And we jump to that ambition without first asking whether we should become or not. See, that is very, very important, that we should become world power in something only if it is beneficial for us, if it is desirable for us, if it is having serious consequences, but we still keep pursuing that kind of goal. So to my mind, that kind of becoming bird power title, etc., may be more damaging than the gain it will bring. I'm not saying that it is there in case of agriculture. For everything, we should first discuss desirability, consequences. Now coming to agriculture, again relating to what I'm saying, desirability, I would say that rice is one sector in which we are already bird power. A few years back, we are having almost 50% share of bird export of rice. Now I think it is about 1/3, Shokji, 1/3 share of global rice exports. And with that, you can say that if your size share is so high, certainly you are bird power. But with this becoming bird power in rice, we have also become biggest exporter of water, virtual water. 1 kg of rice that we send, it take with it around 3,000 liters of water. Some people say even 5,000 liters of water. So as a result, you know what is happening to water table in most of these states, which are intensively rice-going states. So should we acquire this title of being bird power by making our own people water insecure in terms of basic necessities? So I think these kind of things are very, very important. Now coming to the question Sanjeev raised, what are the challenges in agriculture? I would say again, this is unconventional, that biggest challenge in agriculture is mindset of some people to always look at negativity in agriculture. One of the reasons why we are not able to promote our agriculture is this mindset which always brings negativity in agriculture, which completely overlook the positivity in agriculture. If you look at what are our achievement in agriculture? Last 10 years, I have written a paper on it. I am not saying so because I am member of government think tank Niti Aayog. The growth rate of our agriculture is historically highest. 4.6% in last 10 years till 2024-25, not for 1 year, that is the average of 10 years. Whatever way you measure it, by fitting trend, by taking average, that is the kind of growth rate. And in agriculture, to have that kind of growth is not that easy. And we are now globally, if you look at the major countries, countries with more than 1% share in global GDP of agriculture, we are the fastest growing. We have now beaten China, that is now number 2, and we are number 1. So I think these kind of achievement, the strong support of agriculture for India to become Viksit Bharat, and more importantly, to give support to India that when you are Viksit Bharat, Sabka Vikas, inclusive growth, that employment in agriculture so high, this threat of job elsewhere. So some new kind of thinking how we can create a reasonable kind of better remunerated jobs around agriculture, if not in agriculture. So it is doing, to my mind, it is doing this great job. The challenge, if I have to highlight one challenge, that this growth rate of 4.5% for 10 years, in some of the state it is as high as 7%. And I looked at 2-3 states, it is even more than what is the growth rate in manufacturing. So coming to the challenge to my mind is that this growth is not uniform across segments of agriculture and across states. Still we have 3-4 states. In one state it is even negative. In another 3 states it is less than 1.5%. So, and within agriculture, if you look at different segments, again you may be surprised that among 5 segments of agriculture, field crop, which includes cereal, pulses, oilseed, cotton, sugarcane, horticulture, livestock, fishery, the lowest growth rate is in field crop, which is cereal, pulses, and this oilseeds. And if you take away maize, then you find that the growth rate further come down to 1.5%. And these are the crops which have MSP. These are the crops which benefit highest in terms of, I would say, subsidies and support that is being given by government. So this is a big challenge. I think it is a more serious challenge for policy, that if the segment where you are putting in so much of money, that sector is having minimum growth, then the challenge to policy is, can you change the policy? This is really a serious thing. I, at my level, try to convey this message at the top level also, that you move from field crops to horticulture, the growth rate doubles. You move to livestock, the growth rate triples. You go to fishery, the growth rate becomes 5 times,
Right.
4 times. So that is the, I think, kind of situation, that the challenge, in some sense it is a challenge, that a common farmer is identified with production of cereal, pulses, and oil seeds. And area under these crops is nearly 90 to 92%. So if those farmers who are growing field crops are not putting some area under horticulture, are not keeping livestock, then they are likely to suffer. That is a big, I would say, challenge for India, and it is based on that we are now starting this Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Yojana, 100 aspirational agriculture district, just to see that they are below the average, how they can be taken up the average. But I would say that now there are opportunities for every segment and every state to grow. So we should look at it, that why the growth rate in some state or in some segment is so low.
Right. Dr. Gulati, you have written extensively on the trade deals and their impact on impact on agriculture. In light of that, if our topic is, are we capable of making best use of these trade deals? Our agriculture is capable enough of making best use of these trade deals, or we are too challenge prone and too different from other countries who have made best use of bilateral deals in the agriculture?
The two biggest trade deals on the table, one we have already signed, the other hopefully will be signing soon. EU and US, the mother and father of all trade deals. Think about our biggest agriculture export to these. We are net exporter to both in agriculture. And it is shrimps, both sides. And shrimps require very stringent SPS standards, sanitary and phytosanitary standards, food safety.
Right.
And we have succeeded doing that. Dr. Ramesh already talked about rice. Out of a global trade of 61 million tons, 20 million tons were by India in 24-25, so 1/3. But a few facts I want to bring on the table on your previous question before getting into details of this trade deal. The two biggest economies, US and China, and we aspire to be the third biggest.
Yes.
US is a net importer of agriculture. Let me repeat. US is a net importer of agriculture to the tune of $59 billion. China is a net importer of agriculture more than $100 billion. India is a net exporter of agriculture. Our exports are $52 billion, imports are $37 billion, so you have about 16 billion dollars. Whether we will remain a net exporter, that's your question. Can
Yes.
we feed the world? Can we
Yes.
contribute to global food security? That depends upon if we go as business as usual, what we are doing, and we keep on doing the same thing. We have achieved food security, which is our first primary duty. But nutritional security, we are at least 10 to 15 years or maybe even 20 years away. 35% of our children below the age of 5 are stunted, undernourishment. So their incomes have to improve, food quality has to increase, but more than that, what is happening is that the food that we are consuming, which is still cereal-based diets for the masses, wheat and rice, they have become deficient in nutrition because our soils have become deficient in nutrition. So this deficiency of nutrition in the food is leading to stunting, leading to many other problems. So the same, let's say, orange that you used to take in 1950s or same wheat that you used to take in 60s and 70s is not giving you the same nutrition which the current wheat is. So you need to either invest a lot in regenerating your soil. Water table is depleting in Punjab-Haryana belt by 1.5 feet a year. Water quality contamination is taking place at a massive scale. Air is getting polluted. We know about that. Biodiversity is being lost. So business as usual has given us food security, not nutritional security, but it has damaged the planet's basic resource endowment. And unless we go for regenerative agriculture and change our policies, change our products, change our practices, we will not be able to even meet our own needs. And don't talk about that. But there is an opportunity, and that's where I want to give one more example. China, although it's the biggest net importer of agriculture, arable area of China is about 129 million hectares. Ours arable area, permanent crops plus, is 159 million hectares or so. Still, they produce double the agriculture GDP than India. And even after doing that, they are importing soybean, like 110 million tons of soybean they are importing every year. Because their diets are meat-based, and that requires a lot of feed to come in. And they have shifted from low-value crops, let the low-value crops come in as imports, and export high-value crops. So I think the future that we have to do, we have to look at precision agriculture. You can double the productivity. We have to do major reforms on fertilizer sector. That's a major issue, because the amount of resources that are going in last year, 25-26, the revised estimate is 1,86,000 crores going into fertilizer subsidy. It's not giving. FM was saying, we know, farmer may need 2 bags, taking 4 bags, and through AgriStack, hopefully we'll be able to fix that, or it is going somewhere else. I think that's a major area of reform. If we can save some money out of that and put it in agriculture R&D. Our agriculture R&D budget is less than 10,000 crores for ICAR, which is to take care of all the crops. One company called Bayer, that's $1.1 billion. One company called Bayer spends in 24-25 spent 2.6 billion euros on agriculture research. We are an economy in agriculture dole-driven. The fertilizer subsidy budget is bigger than the entire budget of Ministry of Agriculture, and fertilizer subsidy rests with another ministry that has to do nothing with the farmers. So to your last question, we can feed not only ourselves but quite a few other countries. We can contribute to global security, food security, provided we improve our practices to do precision farming. Same water, same land, same fertilizers can give you much higher mileage. I think we have to change the incentive structures. Incentive structures are perverse. Some of our policies are dated, and that requires a lot of effort to streamline the policies, and then the products will emerge. There are products available, and the practices of the farmers have to change for a more optimistic picture.
Right. Dr. Bhandari, taking away from what Dr. Gulati said, a dole-driven agriculture entering into a phase where a lot of people are talking about trade deals helping it, trade deals boosting the exports, deficits coming down. Do you think that we are capable of making the best use of trade deals, or our agriculture is too fragmented, challenge-driven, subsidy-oriented, small, that whatever deals or whatever doors are open for us, we are not there yet?
First, it really doesn't matter what I think. But, I just like to say that it's very great to be here, and I'm sitting on a panel with 2 gentlemen who I would rather listen to than, than fill my ears with. But, so I'm going to just take a different perspective. I mean, trade deals are just reactive mechanisms. They're really nothing, they're not that great.
Okay.
Okay, the problem essentially is that we have an agriculture sector which we are too scared for it to be opened up. We export so much, we import limited because we don't import, period. Right?
But we are scared because we are small. We are very small. The argument is once you open, it will flood your farmers, it will kill your farmers.
The reason of why we are scared, I wouldn't be able to give you here, but the point is that our agriculture sector, large parts of it, is really not competitive.
Okay.
Or at least we believe it is not competitive. It may be, we don't know, we haven't even tried it out. Okay, because it's there are a whole lot of government initiatives that we talk about, and of course they are all well-meaning initiatives. Of course there are problems in delivery of various of these mechanisms required for the delivery of these initiatives. So all of that we all know. So that's not the issue here. The issue here is that, okay, fine, 20 years from now, what do you want India to be? You want it to be a well-fed, well-nutritioned society. I don't want wasting and stunting and all of that. And of course, that requires a different class of food products. And we really don't know how to go about to that point. Now, we can start playing around with the prices, with the seed allocations, through this fertilizer and through that fertilizer, or we can just leave it to the market.
Right.
We don't do that. Again, because there is this notion that I have to do everything in the government, right? You actually don't need to do so much.
Okay.
Just need to, just step back. Now, 4.5% growth, Professor Chand has talked about, and absolutely it's amazing. But why did it come about? Over 20, 30 years, we invested in telecom, we invested in primary education, we invested in roads. Just three things, not to do with agriculture at all, right? Now, can you imagine, now you have a society which can communicate freely, where you have at least some level of education, and of course, where transport and logistics are easier.
Right.
And of course, you would have had to have growth, right? Now, of course, I'm not saying other things didn't happen. I'm saying that you need these the focus needs to be on these contributory issues where there are possibilities of market failures.
Right.
What we tend to do is, we tend to intervene, we create an artificial market failure, then we tend to correct that through another intervention. Now, of course, it gets to be really messed up, and then, of course, you need all kinds of subsidies and so on, right? Now, I think it's time that we think that, okay, fine, what do we want agriculture to be? We want agriculture to be a surplus-creating activity. It always has been in India. All of our civilizations, the great, the golden bird, etc., whatever we used to call it, agriculture was surplus creating. Is it surplus creating today? In some segments, yes.
Some crops, yes.
In many segments, no, right? So we can correct that. So I feel that, it is not too late. We can still think in a slightly different manner that what are we really trying to do? Now, the second part that happens is, this concept of fear. Fear is the wrong word, but essentially concern, perhaps, or a thought that the farmers will not agree. Yes, the farmer will not agree, right? Because there is a lack of conversation happening in this space that where are we going towards? It's all very, okay, let's talk about the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 year, and so on. We do need to have a 20-year agenda where we are saying the kind that you said, should India feed the world? I don't think, by the way, I agree with Dr. Chand that that's not the objective.
So whatever deals we sign, we will never be there.
Whether we do or not, it is not the objective, right? We may feed the world, we may feed ourselves, we may feed some part of the world and some part of ourselves. It really doesn't matter. Right. What really matters is, are we creating surpluses and are we being kind to the environment? And, right? There are just only two things that we need to worry about. Right now, we are definitely not feeding the world apart from in 1 or 2 areas, and we are definitely not being kind to the environment, as Professor Gulati just talked about, creating a big mess. And even if agriculture productivity doesn't go down and we find some other mechanisms of producing with that really degraded soil more and more food, the fact is we are harming the planet. Right. And it will come back to us in many different ways, if not in agriculture. So I think these are the two objectives we need to do. And so we do need a 20-year agenda. That 20-year agenda needs to be, the government needs to withdraw, let markets do things. There will be some messiness there. There will be some people will lose temporarily, gain temporarily, and so on. But, things equate.
Right. Dr. Chand, your views on what Dr. Bhandari said, we need to move out. Means people are looking at your job this thing. You need to move out. But we haven't been, in fact, we have never moved out. We have gone more deeper into controlling. And the 20-year agenda should be there to how to push people. And also what he says, very interesting, that we are getting into the 4.5% growth without doing anything. We actually haven't done anything for agriculture, and it has given us a 4.5% growth. So what needs to be done to push this government, monolith called government, out of agriculture? It should not be there, as Dr. Bhandari said, it should be private-driven fair. Why have we are so fearful of the fact that tomorrow some 10 farmers will come up and say, please don't stop the fertilizer subsidy. I want to pay 235 rupees for next 50 years of my life. Why are we fearful about those 10 farmers, but not of those 90 who are actually willing to pay 2,400 rupees per bag?
Well, I don't find many who are willing to pay 2,400, and nobody say no to things coming freely to their house, compared to if they have to pay. Uh, uh, I think we all know that there are two ways to promote or pull growth of any activity. One is that government and institutions can create the favorable environment for that, and it happens. Second is that we let market drive that growth. Indian agriculture is now at a stage where if you split the growth rate between how much growth came from government supported crops and how much it came from others, so you will find that the growth which came from the other segment is more than 80%. The growth which is coming from government supported sector, their share in total is 28%, Gulati wrote in one of his article, and growing at only less than 2%. So that is the kind of situation. The thing is that agriculture is such a sector where we need to have nuanced approach toward government intervention in agriculture. Government intervene in agriculture market in China, they intervene in USA, EU, everywhere, but the instrument which they use for that intervention are not distorting. Like if price, international prices are highly volatile. Sometimes they go high, sometimes they go low. So small farmer or even US farmer can't be exposed to that kind of volatility. They can't absorb it. So you find that government almost everywhere in most of the country, they intervene. But they intervene in such a way that they are not thrusting the price on the market. Like there is a complex rate in USA, bank rate or whatever, but it boils down to that you are paying a sort of deficiency payment, that if you expect that long run price of wheat should be $250 and actually it is $200, then government compensates fully or partly for that gap that farmer got 200, whereas if prices were on trend, they should have got $250. One is that government still keep giving MSP, output price support to maintain stability, to de-risk farmer from market risk and shocks, but don't give it through procurement. If you give it through procurement, then right now MSP of some of our crops is higher than what is international price. So if that is the case, you have surplus, but you can't export it. This is what we faced in case of rice, that we purchased rice at some paddy at some MSP. The economic cost turns out to be 4,300 for ordinary variety purchased by FCI, and international price is 3,300 or something like that. So as a result, you can't sell it.
Yes.
So what you do, you have to find that we have some mechanism. So instead of procuring it, if we pay to farmer through mechanism of deficiency price payments, it has its own kind of limitation that gaming, etc. should be checked. But I think ultimately that is the way to go forward. For the second segment where market can play, I think the reforms, it is possible that some of the clauses, language of reforms was not acceptable to farmers, particularly the clause that if you have any dispute in the mandi, you can't go to court. Okay, it will be resolved by SDM. That was done with right intention, that farmers should not get stuck in the legal process, and a private firm is always stronger than farmer in fighting legal battle. But they took it other way, that you are robbing us of the right to go to court. So those kind of things, I think, were thorny issues in the reforms. So Ministry of Agriculture, realizing it, has written to all the states that we are again suggesting you that you can use these things as a model, but please go ahead with the reform. And wherever you find that some reform is happening in the states, big dividend is realized. As I said, growth rate of agriculture, even if you remove shrimp, in case of Andhra Pradesh, you just find it the second highest in the country after Madhya Pradesh, because private sector entering into horticulture. So AP emerged as the largest horticulture producer state of the state, not only largest fish producing states. So 1/5 of fruit of this country is produced by that state alone. So I think we need to follow these kind of paths. But what where we have reached now is that market reforms not happening at most of the places, and the government intervention, the old mechanism of ensuring MSP through procurement is going on. If we change these two, you will just find that wonder will start happening in case of agriculture.
Dr. Gulati, coming to you, you have come out with some very interesting papers last few weeks, last few months. Obviously, as Dr. Ramesh Chand was pointing out, that we are interventions, government intervention, instead of going down, it is going up in most of the cases. In the last, we have seen in so many years. Are we fearful of doing any bold reforms? I was just reading your piece on urea and other things. We're talking about rationalizing the sale of urea, but we are not talking the bold decision of increasing the price of urea. Why are we worried? Until unless you do a big decision like, let 10 rupees increase, 15 rupees was the economic survey suggested. Why even that minor thing is we are fearful of? And then we expect our farmers to be standing on their own.
Well, the political economy has moved in the direction of free food, and then almost free 85%, 90% subsidy on urea. And you know it, for the last 10 years, the price of that bag
is not
only from 50 kg to 45 kg. That's the only reform that has been done. But all said and done, I think the overall resources that are going to agriculture in India are not less, but they are not going in the right way. As Madam Finance Minister herself was saying, that part of the urea is being diverted. So they know there is a problem. How much is being diverted, whether it is 10%, 20%, 15%, we have tried to do some indirect exercises and we came up with a figure of 22%. 22% of urea is not even going to agriculture. It is going to plywood industry, glass industry, and even all the way to the neighboring countries. So if that is the reality, and your subsidy is 1,86,000 crore and almost 2/3 of that is to urea, you have literally 30,000-40,000 crores not really going to agriculture, which was supposed to be made. So I think Agri-Stack, I've been hearing this for quite some time, and she gave us a very good optimistic picture, because when we talk to the ministry, they say we don't know really who is the farmer, because the tenancy problem that comes. How do you identify the tenants? Because PM Kisan is also given to those who have the land records, and that person may be sitting in Canada or US or Australia. And therefore, I think with today's technology, the digital world and the space technology, and you have the fertilizer sales data for the last 4 years, 5 years, so you have to triangulate all this data to identify whose land it is, what crop they are growing, how much fertilizer is the recommended dose by the State Agriculture University, how much is he buying and what for is he buying. If we can get these things in place, you will save at least 30 to 40,000 crores every year just from fertilizer subsidy.
Right.
And if you have the guts to reform the food subsidy, Niti Aayog says multidimensional poverty has come down to 11% last year estimated, and now even perhaps less. And World Bank says 5.3% extreme poverty, and we want to give free food, wheat and rice to more than 800 million people. The two things don't go together. I mean, if you want to give to 10% Antodaya, 15%, perfectly fine. But giving totally free, 43 rupees is the economic cost per kg of rice to the government, and you are giving it free. Where are the resources then to invest in AI or precision agriculture or genome mapping and editing of that? All these things will require a lot of resources. And this dole model will not last for too long. I think we have to move towards development model.
Right. I'll just conclude with you, Dr. Bhandari. Is technology a way to move forward in your 20 years roadmap for agriculture? And do you think technology is the way for both distribution of subsidy, movement of subsidy, and how do you see that? Should we use those technologies available?
I'll again say the same thing which I said. Technology is of course important. It's this thing. But the government should not bother about it. It's really important to know. The more you try to intervene and say that, okay, fine, I want to intervene in this way and that way, you just mess it up. And then it later gets out of hand, and then in this political economy, you can't take away anything that you've given in the past. So please, just stay away, don't do anything. Okay? If by mistake you started subsidizing fertilizer, just stay there and just let it be. So if we are unable to change policy with changing conditions, then it's best not to make policy.
Right.
And just stay away.
Thank you.